Good morning all. Welcome to Djuma Game Reserve. Welcome to our morning drive this morning. My name is Mark. VM on camera with me this morning, with Brian back in the control room, final control, FC. Welcome to South Africa and welcome to this corner of Bushveld. Hopefully we're going to have a lovely morning. A little bit overcast, mild temperatures, there's a clear sky, maybe going to burn away the cloud later, I hope. Maybe turn into a lovely hot day today. Now, we went past the lion this morning on the way in. Those of you, oh, there's leopard tracks heading south. Let me make another detour. I was thinking of heading down towards those lions. Now, for those of you who are joining us for the first time, maybe, just to let you know, a couple of days ago we had some lion killing a buffalo. We have a coalition of males known as the Birmingham Boys. 5 in the coalition, and only 3 of them up here. Killed a female buffalo up the entrance road to Vuyatela, to the entrance road to Djuma. And well, there was still some activity there yesterday. There still seems to be activity there today. Here is fresh leopard dung and fresh leopard tracks. Probably walking down towards Filament Dip. Quite fresh. Get an idea at this junction. Yep, looks like it's probably one of the young males. There's some bird tracks on top of it. Bird tracks like a dove, which would have been walking around from, oh, all these widers. From, I guess, just before sunrise, and the birds come out onto the road. They're looking for grass seed. This cat was walking here a little while ago. Maybe we'll catch up with it, not too sure. So the lion was still there. It seems to be a lot of hyena activity around where the lion are. Didn't get to see how much of the kill is left. I doubt there's that much. Still some vultures that are hanging around the trees. But it would appear that the lion aren't relinquishing their kill. And I suppose the hyena couldn't get in last night, and the vultures haven't been able to get in either. So we'll have a look at that in a little while. This cat's left the road now. Probably walking down here just before dawn. But now it's gone. Only have to pick up tracks further on through the dip. believe there's been a bit of a change in the bit rate of the image that we're sending out, so there is a slight change in, I think, the quality of the image. I think a few people have mentioned that quality doesn't seem to be the same. As far as I know, they're just working on the bit rate, and they're working on some of the technical issues that's a little bit over my head. Things like bandwidth and bit rates and things like that. Well, this leopard didn't come this way, so I'm going to go back to Weaver's Nest actually. Head down Weaver's Nest and see. Now, I'm trying to guess where this cat could have gone in a different story. Not a buffalo. Could have followed the drainage line, in which case we need to go down to Telepan. It doesn't look like it came this way, it doesn't look like it went towards Treehouse Dam. Maybe it came into the drainage line from Philemon's Dip. Could even still be sitting further back near Philemon's Dip, just off of the road somewhere in the grasses or in the tree. I forgot. Sorry little one. Very nervous. There's some buffalo thorn branches in its face. Sorry Liam. Mom, just behind the bush. Hello Bambi. Okay. Want to follow Mom. Not very old, this little Nyala. KP. Want some clarity on Karula's cub situation. I don't know if it's true that she had 2 cubs. We actually don't know. There's nobody that can verify that because nobody saw them. We were the first ones to see her cub. We only saw the one, as far as I know. Somebody did write in and said they thought they saw 2 on camera, but I believe there was only the one that we saw. Now, what other confusion might have arisen, because I was at the workshop at Taylor at Djuma, talking to some of the guys, and I don't know who he was, but there was a chap there who was saying something about another incident, but I think he was confused more than anything else, but he certainly made all of us confused, because he knew that another cub, or that there was a cub that had been killed by hyena on Simbambili the day before we had seen that incident. So he said 2 days ago, it was only the day after the incident happened where the single cub was killed. So it made me think that it was that what happened, and so I mentioned it to Scott. Scott mentioned it on Drive. I mentioned it on Drive, and then of course the Bush Telegraph started working its magic, and people started asking around. Some of the viewers started asking other stuff. Wow, look at you! You're not happy, but oh, they're calling in my face. I was a bit nervous. So to conclude, we only know of the one cub. Sorry. Sorry, my earpiece was out. What? Who was that from? Oh, Marcia in Canada. Will she be mating already? Not yet. I think it'll still be a couple of weeks before she. Not likely just yet. It takes a while. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of these buffalo bulls just bush. Okay, boys, we won't disturb you. Nice photo, nice little gap through the trees. Oh, didn't want to get him to get up, but intimidated him slightly. In this fairly thick bush, they're a little bit nervous. Not the kind of place you actually want to walk into a buffalo. We can just put that story to bed. That Kruger, we only know one cub that was killed by the hyena, unfortunately, and that story of another one being killed is nonsense. Well, so far seems that way. Thanks for everybody. Thanks for the input and finding out from other guides, other lodges. interesting to find if anybody any of the ruler's clan. If they were at the dam yesterday. Interesting that sounds like the whole family was around. The two boys, even Mbula. Not sure what you guys all saw yesterday. Seems to have been another wonderful cat day. Done a full circle now, back to quarantine. And cat probably somewhere down here, but we'll come back to this. Good morning, Genevieve. Also coming from New York, this question. Genevieve wanting to know if any baobabs in this area. No, Genevieve, this is too far south for any naturally occurring baobabs. There are baobabs in camps. There's some fairly decent ones in the camp that we're staying in as much as Banyaleti. They must have been planted there 50 or 60 odd years ago. Maybe not 60, 50 something. Nearly 50. I'm trying to think. I think the camp was built in the late 60s. Banyaleti. It had been about 1967, I think, that it was open, so it's possible that those trees were planted around about then. I think there might be one or two in Buatela. But the southernmost baobab is sort of in line with where Hoedspruit is, going into the park, that sort of area of, I suppose you could say just south of the Tropic of Capricorn is the southernmost baobab. And from there going north into Africa, of course, that's when they're starting increasing in numbers and girth. I think that's longer making enough. There's been a lot of wildebeest and zebra activity out here last night, but they've all headed off already. are the elephants. Indeed, Betty. Pennsylvania. Where are the elephants? Well, I had a lovely time with some elephants yesterday evening. We tried what we could with the jigger yesterday, but it seems to be the same problem, that just wasn't fixed properly. So I got to call the guys that worked on it, and they've got to come out and do something. Because we paid a lot of money and it's not fixed. There's a canary. Oh, it's gone. Now that was up in Manuleti. There are a number of tracks just north of where these lion are. There's an area where the Ellie crossed the tip of Djuma, and for some reason they're not spending much time on Djuma. No special reason for it. It's just, I guess, time of the year. They could come around a bend and there could be an elephant in the road any minute now. And of course, if I find any fresh tracks, we'll certainly try our best to follow them. Maybe after we visit with the lion, I want to see the lion, we want to catch up with what they've been up to. And it's also it's nice to follow up on the whole saga of a kill, see who comes along, see if there might be any hyena hanging around still. We'll just go a little bit further beyond where the lion are and just have a look around. It's not a very broad area of the property that we have to traverse, so there's also no roads there, but maybe we'll be lucky. There were some fresh tracks there this morning, but as I say, it's a very narrow portion of the property where sort of right in the top corner, northwestern corner of Djuma. This elephant that are coming up through this northern part of the Sabi sand, crossing into Manuleti and going into Kruger in a northeast direction. And this is just the seasonal movement of elephants. This is just what they do. We'll find we'll get an influx of family groups. Who's that from, Brian, please? Are there any honey badgers from Kim in California? Morning, Kim. There are honey badgers. In fact, we're often finding tracks of honey badgers, and I've noticed where we are now is there's a road that heads off to Buffels of Cutline, Aubrey's Road. I found tracks up there, up this road, Aubrey's Road, going up towards Buffels of Cutline. There might be a den up there. But honey badgers are predominantly nocturnal, although in the morning like this one might still find them running around. We found two very close to our mast off Zoe's Road in Carla Plains one evening when we were going to switch off equipment on our way home after drive. Two youngsters. But I have to be honest, and I live in the bush all the time, and even though I have honey badgers coming to my house almost on a nightly basis, they come scrounging around. And most camps actually have honey badgers that come in and scratch around looking for scraps. They're opportunists. They know how to get into things. If you have a honey badger that's intent on getting into a kitchen, there's not very much that can hold it up, keep it out. They tear open doors. I've seen refrigerators doors bent after a Haspen staple and a lock had been put on the doors, where honey badgers pulled out the bottom of the fridge door and actually bent the door. They're incredibly strong little animals, and when they have the mind to do something, there's very little that will stop them. But as I say, you know, there are honey badgers that come to camps, there are honey badgers that come to my place often at night, but I very, very seldom actually see honey badgers doing a drive, and I guess you could say I'm out quite often at night, especially coming home after town trips, or every other day when I go for a little drive of my own and need to charge up my Land Rover. And one very, very seldom comes across them, possibly because they hear the vehicles coming and they run off. They're also very low animals. They don't stand very high or very tall. So if they're not really close to the road, you won't see them because they're running through the grasses. They're fairly flat to the ground. But it's not impossible. In fact, it's, everything is likely to see anything and everything out here. One of the wonders of driving around and doing this sort of thing is that we never know what we're going to come across. We never know what will cross the road in front of us. And it's all about timing and luck to some degree. Here's a cat next to the road. Flat cat. Morning, young man. Things are starting to get smelly here. Okay, we're just going to first look around and then we'll find a nice spot to sit. We'll look for some activity. There are still a lot of vultures sitting in trees. Carcass has been moved. Carcass wasn't there. Oh, there it is. It's been moved quite a bit. Now probably visible from quite a bit of meat on that buffalo. You can see its head, and somehow rigor must have set in. Looks a little grotesque with the one front leg sticking up. Can't see any lion activity on it. Or can you? Yeah?
No, nothing.
Okay, so then let's just have a look-see in here. Rachel. Morning, Rachel. I need to know if buffalo mourn the passing of a herd member the way elephants do, or do they just move on afterwards? No, they do, Rachel. Buffalo are actually very protective over members of the herd. There was a lion back here this morning. Yeah, there's another one. These boys are pretty much fast asleep at the moment. There's another one. He's awake. We can have a look at him. Franklin complaining about things. And not seeing any. Oh, he's up now. And we've got two boys, one on either side of us. Morning, boys. Take your pick. Still panting, still full. I suppose mourning is a pretty strong word, but they do definitely, I'm sure they do definitely feel the loss. They understand these things. Often you find buffalo actually protecting individuals, sometimes coming to their rescue when they're being taken by lion. It was a New Jersey question. Who was that in New Jersey? Cheetah. Oh. The cheetah in New Jersey? He's got a nice scar on the back of his head, back of his ear there. Cheetah wanted to know if a lion will eat a leopard if it kills it, or will it just kill it to eliminate it? Well, that depends on a lot of things. Depends on the lion, it depends on the circumstance. Sometimes yes, and sometimes no. That is one thing that you can't write in a book, because I've seen a little bit of both, where lion have killed them and moved on just to eliminate them, or where most of the carcass has actually been eaten. And I've seen that with lion killing lion as well. Sometimes lion kill lion and just leave them, and sometimes they'll actually eat the whole thing. He's watching the skies, this boy. There's no one flying. Once again, a behavioral thing that is that can't really be put down on paper as to what will happen, because every animal is different and every circumstance is different. So once we're talking about certain behavioral traits of things, there's a fat cat. Behavioral issues. As with most behavioral things, there can be there are a number of different possibilities and combinations of things that can take place during a confrontation between lion and leopard. Kristen. Morning, Kristen. At what point will these lions abandon their kill? Well, now there you see, once again, a difficult question, because it could be now, it could be tonight, it could be that they're just going to stay here until they've finished most of it. There, once again, so many influencing factors of what could happen. You see, there could be other male lion calling, there could be other lion coming in, there could be hyena that can chase them off because the hyena, maybe just too many hyena. It could be that they move on, they get thirsty and they go up to one of the dams to drink some water and get sidetracked by other buffalo. And who knows, if they had to catch another buffalo while they're out. See, when they're feeding like this, they're going to get thirsty, especially if it's hot, and they're going to take a walk to the closest dam to here, apart from maybe the few mud pools behind us further north of here, where I see a lot of those elephant tracks. Apart from that, there's a good chance that they might head off to water, maybe only one at a time, but being opportunist, there's a good chance that if they came across something to hunt, they would hunt it, and then if they had another kill, they might abandon this one. They might stay here and try and chew on it. Excuse me a sec. They might stay here till it's mostly done. There is still some meat there. They're not opposed to eating rotting flesh. Morning, Blue Jay. Illinois Blue Jay. Blue Jay's asking about the color of a lion's nose and wanting to know if it's true that you can tell a lion's age by the color of the nose. Generally you can. There is actually a scale, or rather a table that one can look at. And mostly, I guess, the first 2 years at least are pink. 2 to 3 years the nose is still pink, but as it ages, as a lion ages, between the pink nose and a 5-6 year old lion with a black nose, in that process of the nose turning black, it goes from pink to spotty and then blotches and then sort of a marbled color. Each year there's a little bit more black. So yes, to some extent it is true. Lewis, I think that's Lewis. Buffalo in New York. Huh. We look at I think of that one male the other day who was so dirty. His mane was covered in muck and blood. Lewis wanting to know, how do they get clean after they get so dirty? Looks like those vultures are getting in a little bit close now, by the way. They want to try and come down, some of those hooded vultures. Well, like most cats do, Lewis, all cats clean by licking themselves. Fortunately for these boys, they groom each other so they can get to parts of the mane that the others can't. I suppose to some extent as well, it's the wet season, rain helps a lot. And then just walking through and lying in these wet grasses, and there's a lot of dew that falls, so the wet grasses help at some point, I'm sure. Yeah, hooded vultures are moving a bit. I think they're jockeying for position. The way these boys are lying, they all three of them are sort of spread out around the carcass, so I think they're preventing anything from coming in. They're preventing the vultures from coming down. They must have kept the hyena at bay last night. It would have been quite interesting to have seen that, or heard it even. Just sitting here, I would love to have just sat here in the dark listening to the noises, because there would have been a lot of squabbling, no doubt, between hyena and lion. Judging by the number of hyena tracks there are on the road, I would imagine that the whole clan was out here trying to get a piece of the action, and the lion were probably trying to defend their kill. The fact that they are defending it, the fact that they are still around, means that they do want to still feed on it at some point. Memphis, Tennessee. Hello, Kathy. How old are these lions? I'm guessing they're probably around 4 years old. The manes are not quite as full as a 5-year-old should be. But that's not a hard and fast rule. The mane sizes are more genetic than anything else. So I'd say maybe between 4 and 5. And they're carrying a lot of scars and scratches. And this one in particular, a couple of nicks in his ear. He's been in a few fights already, but also a lot of the fights that cause the scarring are around a kill. Now, on a buffalo kill of this size, definitely enough to go around for all 3 of these boys, so there's probably no need for them to fight much over it or to have squabbled initially, even if they were hungry. It's only when there's really a very small kill and there are a lot of lions to go around that they do start getting a little bit edgy and touchy with each other. Each lion trying to get as much of a carcass. Like if it were a bunch of lions killing a small animal like an impala or smaller. We saw the other day, just a little while ago, we saw, what was it, was the kahumas take a small daker. It was gone in seconds. But there was a lot of fighting around that. He's yawning. I'm thinking he's going to be getting up shortly. This other one on our right. That one, he's quite as far. Yeah, he's up. Morning, Ron. Going over to the UK, asking if these boys vocalize, if they're in touch with the other 2 missing lion. He's going, looks like he wants to go and feed a little bit. I think we're going to follow him, see if we can get to see what action there is. Maybe he's just getting closer because the vultures are getting closer. Yes, they will vocalize, Ron. I'm sure at night they've been vocalizing, mostly to announce their presence, I guess, more than anything else. But yes, no doubt keeping in touch with the other boys that aren't here. It could be, you know, there's the other side of this is that they don't really have a territory, and it's not really good for them to go around shouting their lungs out in case there are other bigger males that will come along. We've seen that in the past where lion coming in, coalition of males coming in, have vocalized and have attracted the attention of the existing coalition, and there were big fights. And he is back on the carcass, but I don't know if we're going to be able to get in to see him there. It's pretty thick. Maybe we can get in from this angle. There was another brother sleeping here somewhere. Maybe he was just that side. Is that okay, yeah? The angle's not great, but Kathy, as far as I know, nobody's seen the other 2 Birmingham boys. Although there was news that they had a run-in. One of them had a run-in with some other males, Salati males, up in Manyaleti the day before New Year, 31st, and maybe on New Year's Day. There was talk of that. Thanks for the info, Sil. Through Lions of the Sabi Sand, the info from there. But as far as I know, no sightings of them down here in the Sabi Sand, not to my knowledge. Of course, I wasn't here yesterday, I wasn't on the radio yesterday, so I'm not too sure what might have transpired yesterday. But generally, just getting back to the vocalizing, generally coalitions that are split up will roar and they will call to each other, they will communicate with each other if distance allows it, if they can hear each other. It's trying to rip the skin a little bit. Still a lot of meat to be had in the shoulders and the neck, so this looks like they've fed mostly on the hind part of the skeleton. You can see some of the rib cage open, exposed. They would have been chewing on that, the ends of the ribs. It must be very, very tough skin. It's trying to pull on it. No, don't take it away. Yeah, we just need to move again. Okay, it might get a bit bumpy. We might get stuck. Just spinning mud. To do that. We are now covered in mud, but that was a little mud wallow that had grown over with grass. I was kind of thinking that might happen. I just needed. There's mud everywhere, splashed mud all over the place. I think that was Mickey wanting to know if they would abandon this kill for another one. Definitely, being opportunist. It'll be easier when all this mud dries to get rid of it, but it's going to make a mess while it's wet. I've seen in places where I've lived in other parts of Africa where numbers of lion and buffalo are far greater than here, where lion lie on the edges of the lakes. This was in the Salu Game Reserve. And at a particular time of the year when things were getting quite desperate for things like buffalo and that, when it was very, very dry. Sorry, Bill. It's only mud. It's easier, it makes less mess if it dries. So, but you're going to get to sit on it. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes the only way to do things is just brute force. So, as I was saying, there were prides of lion that over a couple of weeks would kill a buffalo, feed on a little bit of it, and then because another one would appear the next day kill another one, sometimes 2 or 3 in a day. There was a time when they were only killing adult females, pregnant females, and feeding on the fetus and leaving the rest of the buffalo completely because the opportunity was there. It does sound like a little bit of a waste, but one has to remember that there are all sorts of other things that are going to come afterwards. There were crocodiles and hyena and so many other things that would come and feed on the remains, jackal. That's pretty clever, Bev. Wanting to know if it's under a guarri bush. That is a guarri bush, you're quite right. It's quite amazing identifying a tree. There's some lovely thick guarri cover here, which is providing a lot of shade, even though it's not sunny today, but it would provide a lot of shade on hot days. Almost like an evergreen, the guarri. Very hardy leaves. Best bush to use to get fire beaters from. Breaking big branches, you can break branches and use it to beat fires because the leaves don't fall off very easily. In fact, the leaves are pretty hardy. Make nice little fly swatters too. The fly swishers. Keep flies out of your face. Take a little twig with a few leaves on it. Known as a magic guarri because the way the branches fork, the fork, some of the forked branches are ideal for divining or dowsing for water. Brenda wants to know why they moved the kill around like that. Morning, Brenda. Is that Louisiana? Oh, getting a little bit of wind our way. Lovely smell. A 2-day-old carcass. And smelly lions. Brenda, only they really know why. Well, part of it is to keep it under cover so that the vultures can't get to it. And part of it is because he's expecting, I suppose, to need a lot of shade. It's possible that at night when they've been feeding, when it gets dragged out from under the bushes, and then during the day they want to keep it under wraps. Linda in Northern California. Morning, Linda. How often are lion able to catch vultures? Or do the vultures just hop or fly away? Gosh, difficult question, Linda. Not that often. I know that they are known to strike them. Just by the way, I don't know if you can zoom in on it, but all the bluebottle flies sitting on this quarry bush. We're sitting in the middle of a fly trap here. Thousands of flies that are just resting on these quarry leaves. They look like little berries. I don't think they catch them very often, Linda. They certainly chase them a lot. Hyena as well. You know, I don't think that. Well, I can't think of any time when I've seen them actually catch. I have seen film of. It's getting pretty strong, that smell now. I've seen film of a vulture suffering the side effects of a swipe from a lion's paw. Side effects, consequences. But I don't think it happens very often. I've certainly never seen it. I've spent a lot of time around kills. Never seen it. They get irritated with the vultures because, well, just to protect their carcass. But the intention, I don't think the intention is there to kill the vulture as much as it is to chase it away. It seems these boys are a little lazy and a little loath to cut through the skin. Their carnassial teeth should be sharp enough to do so. But it looks like they've, especially I noticed when he was dragging the kill, that there's a lot of the skin is left. And sometimes they'll go so far as to stay on the carcass until there's virtually no meat left, and all they've got is going to be the skin and the hooves, and they just chewing on whatever they can get their mouths around. Morning, Sandy. Sandy's question, who usually takes care of the skin of the buffalo? Well, it depends on many things there, I think, Sandy. Often it'll be the lion, sometimes hyena. I've lived in places where the dry conditions desiccate and dry the skin out quite quickly, and it becomes mummified, where a lot of the interior of the buffalo has been eaten, but mostly it's just a shell, and the skin stays gets very, very dry and desiccated, and eventually all that can feed on it are things like carcass beetles and fly larvae when it gets wet in the rainy season. Sometimes hide can become so mummified in the dry season that can lie around for a long time. I don't know what he's trying to do. He's trying to pull on the carcass and tear the skin, and it's just, the carcass isn't that heavy, so he's pulling it around a little bit. I can try and move again, get another angle. Yeah, see some of the ribs to the right that have been chewed. They've done a lot of chewing on the rib cage. Buffalo got very broad ribs that actually overlap each other and form a very tight cage around the vital organs. But of course, no good if once they get into the carcass, then they start chewing, because they're very good bone matter that can actually chew the bone and get a lot of the calcium. Let's see if we can move again a little bit. Avoid our mud hole that we just spun our way out of. And I don't think there's much of an angle at all from here, otherwise. Maybe. Should be okay, yeah. There you can see the two guarri bushes, the carcasses between the two, and that big buffalo thorn that was sticking out from the top where there's a vulture sitting. So where they are now, they're pretty set for shade for the rest of the day if the sun does burn this cloud open. That's interesting. Morning, Daisy. Interesting question. Who's got the greatest tearing ability, I suppose, in terms of tearing at the skin? Lion, hyena, or leopard? Well, probably lion. Just by virtue of the size, the skull and the jaw and the teeth. Hyena to some extent as well, because they, of course, they have probably a stronger biting force to their jaw. Leopard, being so much smaller, wouldn't even come into the equation unless one is sort of a pound for pound basis. Seems he's getting a lot less for the energy, the effort that he's putting into feeding. Doesn't seem to be getting much out of it. See, one thing that helps with tearing is if they were feeding together, because then they would sort of pull in opposite directions, and that would help with ripping things. But with them only feeding one at a time, there's no counterforce, and once it starts losing weight, the weight of meat that they're feeding, once the carcass starts getting bare and loses actual density, then it gets harder and harder to pull at things. A little bit of an awkward angle that we're at now, so can't see much. Maybe we should go for a drive, maybe come back in an hour or so. It's the stomach acids that they have. Very interesting question. Cherry from Cherry Hill, I think New Jersey. Anna Marie wanting to know what age male lion are able to mate. Well, that is a question that has a lot to do with the establishment or the ownership of territory, and then of course access to a pride of lion within that territory. Generally speaking, without that they can't mate. They won't have access to females. So it's important that a lion is able to overthrow existing male or males to be able to rule a territory long enough for the females to come into estrus and for them to bear their cubs. And that usually happens after the age of 5, when a lion is big enough to oust an old male or older males. So it's usually around the age of 5 onwards, very seldom younger, because from about the age of 3 to 5, males are somewhat nomadic, get shunted around from territory to territory, get chased out of territories by existing males. They're not big enough to challenge and big enough to take over the territories. I need to move so we can get a slightly better view, but I can't see where we're going to do that. There's just too much quarry in front of us and too much quarry around where he is. But sounds like some other vehicles coming, so maybe an idea to move along and go for a drive, come back a little bit later and see if we can find some sign of elephant. Hang on. I'm going to just creep around behind you then. You can come in here. Yeah, come in here and get a better view. Yeah, pretty much. I did a little bit of a roundabout looking for Ingwe. There's tracks of one of those, my daughter's going down to Philemon's Dip, but didn't see anything coming out Treehouse way, and there's nothing Twin Dams way. I'm going to follow up on it now.
I can give you a hand in a couple of
Was there anything else picked up this morning?
Jake's got a injured Ingwe long pole.
Yeah.
I think they've just relocated to Kruger. Otherwise there's some Burger Boys, Spaghetti Junction.
Yeah. Okay.
Alrighty.
Thanks, Kurt. I'm going to see how far north we can get. Well, northwest, really. Yeah, I'm also keen for an elephant. We all want an elephant. There was a question about zebra. Where have all the zebra gone? They're around. There were zebra tracks all over this place this morning, but during the day they're going to be feeding in. And there's lots of grasses now, so they'll be likely feeding off of the open areas during the day, getting back to the open areas at night. That's just a flower for you ladies for this morning, Sunday morning flower. It's a pink hibiscus. Not very common to have this pink variety. Mostly these wild hibiscus are yellow. Really pretty little flower for you. I'll find you a yellow one shortly. And where did I put the binoculars? Okay, vulture's got no head. The one on the bottom right, it's got no head. It's had its head bitten off. A few headless vultures. That's because they're sleeping, got their heads tucked in. They know they're not going to be getting close to that carcass just yet. So there's nothing they can do but sleep. Also not much in the way of thermals. Sort of overcast sky like this. Still fairly cool. I mean, it's middle of summer, I'm wearing a pullover. Sorry, vultures. So, to find an elephant, we need to... stick is in a break. We need to have a look around here and go up to Buffles of Cutline. Some impala through here. Didn't get the name, Brian. How often we see crocodiles, black rhino, black mambas? Stephanie. I think Atlanta. Radio's getting a bit iffy. Stephanie, how often? Gosh, there we go. Sure. How do I answer that question? Don't see black mamba very often. If we're talking about only here at Djuma, at the moment there are no crocodiles around at Djuma, not to my knowledge. Quite possible that a crocodile will come back to Djuma waterhole, but there aren't any crocodiles at any of the other dams at the moment that we know of. Rhino, well, we don't really talk about rhino, Stephanie. Rhino are a touchy subject at the moment. We've had for 2014, I think there were over 1,100 rhino killed in South Africa. It's a ridiculous number. It's such a ridiculous situation. How humans are just able to do what they do. Ridiculous isn't the word. It's disgusting. It's appalling. It's unconscionable, unimaginable that humans are able to do to a species of animal. You know, here are some elephant tracks that crossed this elephant path. If we sat here all day, we'd probably see an elephant. But at this particular point of Djuma, there's maybe a few hundred yards of the corner of Djuma where elephant are crossing. There's a very big dam on the neighbouring property called Buffelshoek, just to the north of us. And there are a number of pathways here, very distinct pathways that elephant are using at the moment. And for some reason, coming up from the southern area of the Sabi sand, right ahead of us is actually the Sabi sand fence, which is sort of one of the western boundary of the Sabi sand, northwestern boundary. And so elephant here tend to cross over and going into Manyeleti. They sort of hit a funnel, I guess, in a way. Not quite a funnel, but the idea would be to see if we can find some fresh Ellie tracks. We'll head down this road. And we'll do some loops. This is the main western boundary of Djuma. Also a main access road into the Sabi sand from the main gate called Gari Gate. And it heads south into the Sabi sand. So it's the access road for many lodges and many properties. Green elephant kicking sand here. This morning even, funnily enough. And there's the other end of this pathway where elephants have been crossing. Big bull tracks of a big bull. Trust me, if there's an elephant to be found, I want to find it, or them. You've got to remember one important factor here, that Djuma is a very tiny little property in the middle of a very large area. When we look at the size of Djuma is 1,000 hectares, a couple of thousand acres. That is set in the middle of millions of acres. So it's like one city block in a bunch of cities that we have to cover. So the animals are here. Oops, sorry. I want to see why there's a stickler or a prenia that's shouting. The animals are here. It's a matter of whether they're on this tiny little block that is Djuma, or to our right, Arathusa. There are a number of birds that are alarming here. Could be an owl or could be a snake. Don't have the tablet, don't have any of the map. Morning, Valerie. Schön. Kom, Januar. Valerie wanting to know about the vultures. They seem to sit there forever. And Valerie wants to know how long can they go without eating. It's a very good question actually. I don't really know. But they can sit for days. Probably reaching the limit at 3 or 4 days. I think after a day or two. The thing is that we see vultures in the trees all the time around the carcass, but they're not necessarily the same vultures sitting there. Could be, I suppose. But generally when the sun comes out and the thermals start, one is likely to find that the vultures, if they're not able to get access to the carcass, they're likely to move on. I wanted to show you, I found a yellow hibiscus, but what's interesting about this hibiscus is that it has a beetle inside it. If we can see that beetle, that one there. I don't know if you can see that black and yellow beetle inside the flower. That's known as a blister beetle. Oh, these hibiscus, these belong to the Malvaceae, the Malva family, or the mallow family of plants. And blister beetles are designed to eat their flowers, or designed. Blister beetle's niche in life is to feed on the flowers of most of the mallow family, the cotton family. So they can be quite a significant insect in terms of agriculture, or the importance as far as agriculture is concerned. But interestingly, they're actually beneficial to farmers in their beginning stages. It looks like wild dogwood here. The larval stage of the blister beetle feeds on grasshoppers. And they've got to find a grasshopper's egg nest within half an hour of hatching out of the egg, out of their own egg, the larva of the blister beetle. So as far as helping farmers concerned, it's a great thing, because they do eat the hatching larva of locusts, or nymphs of locusts and grasshoppers. But then as soon as they pupate and become adults, they then turn on the flowers and eat the flowers of these plants. So they can be quite detrimental, or can be quite damaging to crops. A blister beetle because they have a defensive strategy, a defensive acid that they secrete from the base of their hind legs. That blisters the skin very badly. If I remember correctly, there's a combination of substances. Cantharidin, I think, is one of them. Cathadine and cathinine. I'm not too sure, I might get the names wrong, but it's something like a combination of 3 different cathadines, cathadones. Morning, Jennifer in Toronto. The longest time while living in the bush that I've been without elephants, probably a few days, might even be as much as a week. Longest time without elephants. See, even a day without elephants is a long time. But I have a similar thing up at home to what we're experiencing here right now. Not quite an elephant drought. There are elephants around, they're just not on Djuma. Or We haven't covered the whole of Djuma yet. We will by the end of the day. Thanks for the question, Jennifer. There are times that I can go through periods when I can be with elephant every day for weeks on end. Sometimes I don't even have to leave my house. I'm very lucky and very fortunate in that. Quite often I can go to sleep to the sounds of elephants feeding, or wake up with elephants in the yard feeding on my mapani trees or eating my aloes. Yeah, I'd say, I've never really counted, but I would say probably around 4 or 5 days maybe. I do start getting a bit of withdrawal after a while. Great. Now I was going to turn here and in Edmonton must be Canada, I think. I want you to know what the speed limit for safari vehicles is. Well, it's about 30 kilometers an hour. Craig's having his drink. Well, it's too bad, I'm coming past. Right, let's not go past him. Oops. Go another way. Another guy stopping for coffee on the open area here. Oh, what a bad section of road. Sorry. Yep. Shaking you around. So let's go and have a look. Take the next right. There's a road here on Arathusa called Elephant Way, as far as I know. Maybe we'll be lucky. Maybe there'll be an elephant on Elephant Way. Morning, Linda, in Northern California. Linda's asking if I've ever set up a camera at home to record all the critters, all the things that I have near my place. I have, actually. A friend of mine, Clint, has let me use his trail camera a couple of times, especially at the beginning of this year. I used it quite often. Well, for quite a long period of time, because Clint wasn't in the bush, he was back in the city for a little while, and so I was able to use his camera while he was in the city, and I got some amazing things. Every night I would have jackal, duiker, steenbok, hyena, porcupine. Now I would set it up. I used to set the camera up. There's a little pathway that leads to the road, a little track like this that runs past my house, and there's a little pathway that comes up to it. And I've got 2 stones standing up at the entrance to that pathway, so I set the camera up there, and all the animals that are coming around tend to aim for that pathway, because it's a pathway. They're coming into camp, they're coming to see. Maybe it's not so much that there's a camp there, just that they just happen to be walking past. Some of them are there because they come because of the camp. Now, The interesting things I've had leopard on a number of occasions. The interesting thing is that every time the lion have walked past, and there was one evening in particular that the local coalition of males came past, and I could hear them on the road outside. I could smell them. I knew that they were there, and I caught a hyena on the camera trap. I think it was about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I know that the lion were there just before the hyena, because the hyena's paw print was standing in the lion print. So the camera took a photograph of the hyena that was there, but somehow the lion didn't trigger for the lion for some reason. But I've got elephant, lion, I've got just about everything except the cheetah. The rhino that come past tend to bypass the whole house area, so they come down the driveway, but then they go around the back of the house. So one of these days I must put a camera on that rhino pathway. I've even had hippo coming past my house, which is very unusual because I'm quite far from any permanent water. But I haven't used that camera for quite a while now. One day, when this is over, in February maybe, get to use it again. Morning, Sherry in Ohio. Wanting to know if elephants will eat any kind of fruit. Well, of course, almost every fruit we have in the bush, elephants will like to eat them. Of course, they don't really come across exotic fruits like, oh look, white-faced ducks. Hope they don't move. Off they go. Just pushed my luck a little bit too much. I need to try and get out into the open. So there's a pair of white-faced whistling ducks. This looks like it was an old quarry that filled up with water. Sort of impromptu dam. No doubt a quarry used to build roads in the old days. They used to do that. Or it could have been excavated for a dam. I'm just going to consult my map. I want to see which dam this is.
Red dam.
Which one?
Red dam.
Quarry. Just quarry. What did you call it?
Red dam.
Red dam. It's just known as quarry on the map. So what we will do, I don't think where we should go. Quite close by. This is a Diedrich's cuckoo calling. Very beautiful bird. Metallic green. It's up here in this knobthorn, but can't get to see it. Right at the top. Pity also with this grey sky though, because looking at anything against that grey background doesn't let its colours come through. Oh, looks like we're not supposed to be on this road anyway. Blocked off up there. Well, detour again. Okay. Anywhere is good enough to travel, because everywhere we go we have the same chance of finding something. same herds of elephant move through the area, or are there different herds all the time? Yes, Anita, that's Anita in California. Yes, a little bit of both actually. There are, I'd say, the majority of the elephants that move through the area, elephants that have been using this area for most of their lives, because they know where certain groves of trees are, they know where certain trees are fruiting, certain riverbeds, know where water is. They get to use the same areas season after season, which is why to some extent we see the same elephants year in and year out at certain times of the year, because that is the time that they utilize the areas that we cover. And I suppose by the same token, you're going to get elephants that are moving through an area that haven't been to that area much before, but I'd say predominantly it's elephants that are familiar with the area. When you're talking about a very large population of elephants in Kruger, and not all of them are going to come through the Sabi sand, and even those that do come into the Sabi sand, only a fraction of them will ever cross the area of Djuma, because it's such a small footprint compared to the size of the Sabi sand, and that in itself a small footprint against the size of the Greater Kruger National Park. There's a nice question from Dawn. Hello Dawn, do whistling ducks really sound like they're whistling? Well, yes they do. That's why they're called whistling ducks. They're also known as tree ducks. They make a very, very faint, I'll try and do it. That's their noise. It's not very loud, but yes they do whistle. Beasties, that's lovely. Finland. A complicated question from Raisa. Morning Raisa, Finland. Okay, there's a nice herd of wildies coming out onto the open. Maybe there'll be some zebra with them. Raisa, we got a question about tawny eagles. Stop here and watch the whole herd coming out towards us. Ah, there's the zebra coming. I thought there might be zebra after the wildebeest. Raisa, tawny eagles generally have a pale yellow eye, but tawny eagles come in different sort of phases or forms, dark and light. Generally tawny eagles, the one characteristic of a tawny is that you're going to have dark and light plumage on the same bird. Tend to be sort of a lighter color of the body and the darker wings. But I would say, and I'm going to get my raptor book out for you, Raisa, generally speaking, the eye color is all the same. Oh, speaking of tawny, there's one being hounded, sadly it's flying behind us, being hounded by birds. Now, it could be a steppe eagle, and it's going to go fly to that tree, or it's going to fly past. At least three drongos diving on its back. Look at that, actually pulling tufts of feathers out of it. That one drongo was actually holding on to the eagle. That's a newborn. Look at that little one just learning to stand. But just to end off with the eagle question, generally I think Ray said despite all the colour forms that you'll get in a tawny eagle, the eye colour will always be sort of a yellow-brown colour. Actually described as tawny yellow-brown in the raptor book. It's more reddish in the steppe eagle. I don't think that calf knows who its mother is yet. It takes a while for it to be imprinted on a calf who mom is. And sadly with wildebeest, because of their nature, sometimes calves are left behind. And they'll follow anything that moves, and I've often, not often, but on occasion I've had wildebeest calves running after the vehicle. It's just a big moving thing. Oh, it is interesting. This is the quarantine herd of wildebeest that have come over here. That's very interesting, because we're looking at that female with the skew horn there, that one, whose calf is named Brian. That was the one you saw give birth, I believe, before I got here. So here I was thinking that this is a different herd of wildebeest, but it's not. It's actually the same group. All the way from Djuma. We're sitting on Arathusa at the moment, so it just goes to show that they have moved quite far. In a straight line, I suppose it's not that far. Maybe a mile. There's the crow flies. And all of their tracks, there were very fresh tracks on quarantine this morning. So somehow between daylight and now, they've come all the way over onto Arathusa. Or I suppose it could have been other wildebeest that were out there last night on quarantine. That's also possible. I think the stallion's going to roll in the sand. This zebra stallion. He's coming to say hello, but I think it's a stallion. Not much stand here to roll in, actually. Yes, that's a stallion. Very handsome boy. Morning Trent, Fiji. Nice to have someone from Fiji. Wanting to know how zebra stallions, how they will fight for dominance. They rear up on their hind legs, they bite and nip each other, or nip at each other, around the neck and the shoulders. Interestingly, is male zebra have got a very, very defined and large canine tooth. If you also noticed there was a mare that just yawned. If he yawns, we'll maybe be able to see it and see how contagious a yawn is. But that canine is used for biting, and you actually get it in horses too. In some horses, in most horses, it's vestigial. But I've seen where horses fight, where a stallion has bitten another horse in the neck and bitten through the jugular, and actually the other horse bled out very quickly. There's nothing to do to save him. But zebra bite and they kick. They'll kick with hind legs, but they'll also lash out with their front legs. But it's quite interesting to see. It's actually quite intense to watch two zebra stallions fighting, because they will rear up at each other on their hind legs, biting at the shoulders, the neck. Am I in your way, Mr. Zebra? He's a very handsome fella. Got a huge nick out of his left ear. He'll be an easy stallion to remember. Also, easy to remember groups because of the composition of the group. Seem to be one mare and two sub-adults and the stallion. And she's quite a pretty mare too, that adult. She's got a very, very distinct shadow stripe you can see on her rump. In between her stripes is the shadow stripe. He's got virtually no shadow stripe at all. Let's have a look at the difference around the rump region of all three of these, or four of them for that matter. See how fantastically striped she is compared to, and then this little one, compared to him, virtually no shadow stripes at all in between the sort of the saddle and the rump of the zebra. The little one has actually got a bad scar on her rump. And that's probably from a lion. There's quite a scratch there. Oh, he's coming right up to us to say hello. I see you're pleased to see me, Mr. Stallion. Sitting here like this, they've actually become quite relaxed with us. That he's probably only about 15 feet away from us. He's right next to the vehicle, and rather unusual to be able to experience zebra at such close quarters. They're normally quite shy. But it goes with what I say often enough, that it's all very well how when we get, we can approach animals to a certain distance and that they will allow us, but if we sit in quietly, there's nothing stopping an animal from approaching us. And the animal in control of the situation, because it's the animal's comfort zone that it's dealing with, not ours, or we not encroaching on it. The animal's got its own say. Stephanie, are zebra aggressive? Oh, now they're snorting, because one of the wildebeest got a bit spooked, so now they're all spooked. Now they're snorting, thinking there's a predator around. Well, no, only one snort. Are zebra aggressive, and do they only hang out with wildebeest? No and no, not really. Zebra stallions can be. Zebra stallions can be quite protective, but they can also be quite vindictive. Especially with members and not from their own herd, with other sort of more subordinate stallions or mares or foals even. God forbid a foal loses its mother, the stallion will kill it, because that only draws attention. It's not all the time, but it is known to happen. I'm going to turn around actually, because it looks like the road's blocked. Probably closing roads here because of the rain, because of roads that are getting muddy and too wet. Or maybe it's just turn around and have a look from the other angle. But yeah, it seems to be that they don't want any vehicles driving further than this. And zebra, hang on, bro. So not always with wildebeest. Zebra tend to find the company of almost any herbivore. They like being with giraffe as well. It's always better. Safety in numbers is a big thing in nature, and you'll always find a bunch of different herbivores feeding together. They will complement each other as far as danger is concerned. Some of them see better, some of them hear better. Giraffe are always added to the equation because they see very well, but also because of their height they're able to look out for danger or see danger earlier than other animals. But it's not an always kind of thing. Zebra, you'll find them on their own, you'll find them with impala or with wildebeest. Other parts of Africa you'll find them with other plains game, topi and gazelles. But I guess they are, the iconic thought, one of the iconic animals of Africa is the zebra, and of course the wildebeest. And one always does see them, often does see them together, especially in film and pictures. Let's move along. Lovely peaceful scene. All the young wildebeest getting relaxed, lying down. They don't need to move around as much grazing. Joe Ellen, morning. Joe Ellen, do zebra Winnie and Nika. like horses do. Yeah, to some extent, not the same as horses. Nickering more is perhaps a more appropriate word to think of. Then they have alarm calls. Kind of a cross between a donkey and a horse, the noise of a zebra. Hard to make the zebra sound. Wah wah, wah wah, wah wah. So, let's see, we're gonna try and make our way back to the cats at some point. Pam, hello Pam, who maintains the roads and the property. Well, property doesn't need that much maintenance, but the roads, each landowner is responsible for their own roads. And of course, places like this, there's Arathusa Lodge, so it falls on the guides and I guess the maintenance crew to work on the roads. Djuma, it's up to the guys at Djuma to do the roads. That's why you get different qualities of roads and different properties. So I wonder what we should do. Maybe head back via Impala Plains. I still want to go back towards the north. But most of the elephant activity that we've been seeing has been sort of the north, up there in the northeast. Northwest. North. There. That way. Maybe this afternoon we'll go and have a look further east towards Kruger Dam. There might be some activity there. For now, most of the tracks that I've seen have been closer to the gates, closer to Buffelshoek Cutline and the big dam on Buffelshoek. So I think we'll just head up that way, and then also just before the end of drive we'll be able to stop and have a look at those cats, see what's transpired there. It's always nice just to keep track of what's going on as far as the cats are concerned. Too much. Good morning, Marsha in Kentucky. Oh, not surprised we're getting a question out of Kentucky about horses and hooves and zebra. Marsha, oh, I've just seen it, what looks like a lesser honey guide. Sitting next to that quarry on that piece of wood, on that piece of worry. Where is it? Oh, wait a second. It might not be a guide. Just stop before it flies away. A female redback shrike, I think. Or... oh, she's gone. That isn't a redback shrike. I don't know if greyback would be here. Sadly, she's gone. White wing patches, white tail feathers, outer rectrices, I think. Flew into the top of a combretum, but I don't know if we're going to get to see it again now. No. Marcia, Kentucky. Asking about zebras' hooves. How do they, what prevents them from becoming overgrown? Marcia, just the fact that they're walking on ground. It does look like they're on grasses most of the time. But the sand, especially with the digging that they do, nice kudu bull on the road up ahead. And just in the natural wear and tear of moving around in the bush, their hooves way down. And I don't know about, there was some disease you mentioned, I've never heard of it, and I don't know much about equine diseases. So unfortunately I can't answer that one. I don't have any of my books here. That book's still at home. Book on animal diseases and things. Where'd that kudu go? There's a lovely big kudu bull that was here. It might be one of the crowd of kudu bulls that we've been seeing over time. Crowd, wrong word. Just a small group, small bachelor herd of kudu bulls. Must have just dissolved behind all that quarry. Barely see him, it's quite thick in there. Okay, time to change tack again. I just heard some news that I'm interested in. That means we're going to have to get back to... just heard about some elephant. That means we might not get back to the lion. They're going to be crossing. Might be crossing out of Djuma already. Matter of for an elephant fix. Now they are moving south, so they probably would have been on Djuma this morning, and maybe we just missed them when we were following, trying to find leopard tracks. We touched on Philemon's cut line. It was about an hour and a half ago or more, 2 hours ago. These elephants could have come from anywhere, but they're heading south, which means that they're going to be crossing out of Djuma fairly soon. interesting if we can find them. The thing is, very often, you know, especially this time of the year, with the vegetation is getting denser and denser as the days wear on. Our visibility is limited now looking into the bush. Unless we see something from a road, we're not necessarily going to know it's there, or unless we find tracks. And to find tracks, one has to cover a lot of ground. We just haven't done that much ground this morning. Nobody's found any sign of the cats by the sound of things. The leopards, all of them. Some days that we find ourselves in the right place at the right time, when we just happen to coincide with animals either walking on the road or at a road. Here's some elephant tracks heading south, so we're getting closer. These are all fresh Ellie tracks cutting through here. So we might go straight to the main road and maybe catch them coming out onto the main road. Even a glimpse of an Ellie will be good. Track some dung. Already marulas in the dung of these elephants, so the marula fruits are starting to fall. Not very ripe yet. Seen some pale yellow ones. Maybe this afternoon we'll see if we can find some for you. Okay, so a lot of elephant came through here. now the key is. So we go on to Philemon's cut line. I think we need to go on to Gowrie Main because they're heading south, which means that some of them have maybe crossed already. Some tracks crossing there. I believe there's still some elephant somewhere in this block to our left. The big triangle really goes Spam Road, Philemon's cut line, and there's one crossing the road coming north. So we've got Ellie's all over the place today. That's great. A lot of tracks here. There's a whole family coming on to Djuma right now, so we can breathe a big sigh of relief. They're going to be around, probably heading to Gowrie Dam even. Djuma waterhole eventually, some stage during the day. So everybody wants to know where the Ellies were. Well, some of them are here, not a lot, but at least some of them you can see. And while some elephants seem to have headed south, this is a group, a couple of bulls here with this family group. Oh, I guess some of them are coming north. Hello, big girl. Hello, boys and girls. Now, this is going to be very thick in there. We're going to try and follow them. And they could be meeting up with another herd that might be in there. So let's try and keep abreast of them. There's Baker running away. And a steenbok. Get through a lot of this monkey orange. Hopefully it'll open up a little bit. Two very nice bulls with this family unit. That bull in particular, magic big bull. I think I'm just as happy as everyone that we got some Ellies. This bull not as big as that big one in front of us. Maybe he'll come and say hello. Jambo buona tembo. Hello, boyki. Hello, my friend. Yes, come and say hello to me. Aren't you just the best? Of course, I don't have my camera out. I should have had it out. Yeah, it is. Everybody wanted this. Nobody more than me. See what I mean? He was walking in a straight line and he actually changed his direction to come and say hello to us. What we should be doing now though, I guess, is making our way through back to Philemon's cut line, but I'm just going to try and keep up with them. Wend our way, wind Wendy. Whoa! That's another big hole. by a tree burning and the roots dissolving. Move a lot faster than me through these Ellies. Practically lost them now. Just see tails swishing up ahead. He's playing rear guard while the family moves on. Now, under the circumstances, one doesn't approach an elephant like this. He won't like it. Wait for him to move off first. But one doesn't drive up behind an elephant. There's something that elephants really don't like. It's driving up behind them. They don't have very good rear vision. They have to actually turn around and look over their shoulder when they want to look behind them. So, as well as the fact that their hearing is also more to the front, so they can get a little bit irritable sometimes. Let's maybe go back and see the family group more west of him. See if we can get through a gap here. He's stopped again, so I might not have to be able to move forward. Alright, let's go around. I think we're approaching another family group. This might be another family group up on our left. But this big bull in front of us is still walking with this family group that we watched coming across the road. So we're now coming up to a different family. It doesn't look like they're actually meeting up with each other as such. Mind the little marula tree. Nails on a chalkboard. Oh, this is bad. Probably have to drive over this dead trunk. not easy to keep in the same direction as the Ellies are going. They're heading a little bit more northwest, just because of the density of the vegetation here. Now all I've got to do is just try and find my way out onto Philemon's cut line, that's just up ahead a ways. Little holes, hidden holes. Hopefully they're coming out onto Philemon's cut line soon, because it's going to be a lot more open and a lot easier once we're through here. There we go. Should be here somewhere, because they were coming this way. Unfortunately, I was making more noise than that whole herd of elephants now, because of all the dead twigs, dead wood in there. They're just moving fairly slowly and feeding on a lot of the green vegetation, so they're not really snapping branches, they're not really making much noise. To be able to hear them, I might have to climb a termite mound to see if I can see them. Then we'll turn around and come back this way shortly. There's Mr. and Mrs. Steenbuck. Hello children. a gorgeous couple. Don't know who's going to be zooming on Djuma Waterhole Camp today in the next few hours, but there's a good chance that these elephants some of them may make their way there later. At the moment it looks like they're heading towards Rebecca's Road. Very large area there that's not covered by any roads. They could stay in that area all day and not be found. Or they could be crossing through here going up to Zoe's Road. Got to be in here somewhere. Maybe some on Spum Road. So obviously there are a number of family groups here that have been moving around together. They're not necessarily right next to each other, but they spread out in their family groups over quite a wide area. And I think Texan's got a few down on Spum Road already, or maybe only one or two. This lot, I don't know, the ones that we just come out of the bush from. They were all standing there one minute and I had to take a different tack because of the vegetation, and then now I can't even see one of them. So this is where we came out and they were just west of us. Unless they changed tack and they're moving east again. Try the radio. So somebody that's just crossed Gary Main coming onto Western Gary, west of Spam. Takes that crossed Gary Main coming onto Western Gary. Did you copy? Yeah, firm, about 200 meters west of Spam. Yeah, they're sort of heading to Philemon's cut line. Yeah, he's got a collar.
No, I haven't booked
it. Yeah, look at him. He is. That. I know that Timdor. He also comes to me up there. Timbabati. He's got that. That chip out of his tusk. I'm going to. I will. Bye bye. Have fun. The magnificent bull just off to our left. Just see his tusks. I mean, he's huge. Just his view of his tusks through the bush. That's all we can really see. Just his tusks moving. Another bull up to the right. We can't really get in here. Honeysuckles in flower. A little way compared to that big elephant bull there that we've just been trying to look at. But yeah, we just got to accept that we've got a bit of vegetation to deal with at the moment. They're moving through an area that's quite dense. And we can hopefully get a better look at them later. Because they are on Western Gary, there's a very good chance they'll be around for most of the rest of the day. And if it's going to get hotter, I hope it is. It's starting to get a bit humid and definitely warming up considerably. But it'll drive them to one of the dams later in the day, maybe for a swim in a mud wallow. Okay, time to do the old turnaround again. You can hear a honey guide in this tree. Yeah, I thought so. As soon as we came off of Philemon's cut line, all the others were going to come out, and they're all out on Philemon's cut line now. But I can't turn around here, it's too wet. Let's go a little bit further, turn around and come back again. I'd like to get a glimpse of this big bull. He is the special bull. And I have seen him up at home because I must get all my Ellie photos together and get an idea of how many of the Ellie I see at home elephants that come through Sabi sands. The yellow comelinas are flowering beautifully from the range. I suppose blue ones, so blue and yellow. Swedish flag today. blue and yellow flower. Is it Sweden? Blue and yellow. Blue with a yellow cross. Fandom. There he is. Look at that. We've seen him before here as well. Oh, wow, he's huge. He's in full must as well. He's no doubt making his way to those family groups. A giant elephant like that just sort of strolls through a little gap here that we can barely fit a human. Oh, he's in full must. He's also got a very big gash in his rump, just above his tail on the left. Missed that. Let me go back a bit. Looks like he's had it. Somebody's jabbed him in the butt with a tusk. Probably been fighting, because he is being in must and having some family groups around. It's quite likely that he's had confrontation with another bull about access to cows, maybe even a cow that has gotten aggressive with him because his testosterone levels are so high at the moment. He's probably not thinking. I'm not even going to bother. Well, not that I'm not going to bother. I'm not going to try and get through that very thick vegetation. Once again, we're going to try go around onto Philemon's cut line and see if this bird has come out. This might just stand out there in the open and feed on some of those grasses for a while. But the direction that he's walking in is almost a straight line to, I can actually see, I had a glimpse of an elephant up the road. He should be coming out anywhere here. His trajectory is the same. There's an Ellie up the road. But I'd rather have these Ellies on camera because they're in the open than just see a glimpse of a tusk or a tail. And then maybe just before we close down this morning, facing the other way, we might get that big bull coming out onto this road, maybe even approaching this group. Unfortunately, we kind of running out of time, but it would be great because he's definitely making his way towards this family group, and that would be great interaction to be able to witness. But his distance, the distance he is from these Ellies, is at that rate that he's walking, it will take him a little bit longer to get here. Who knows? Maybe not. I'm coming this way and the elephant's going the other way around the termite mound. It's not helping me much. I think it's got that other bull. I guess the other females have moved on. So at the moment we can't even get there to see him. So bit of a stalemate at the moment. Today is just seems to be my timing. My things are just a little bit off for me today. Sometimes things work and sometimes they don't. Today it's not working for me. Okay, we'll just sit here for a minute and listen. Might have elephants coming out off to our left, but the one elephant is with one of the game drive vehicles off to our right. There he is, coming round the termite mound now. So I'm thinking that maybe the females and the calves have moved further to the north. Now we can get closer to him. Sorry. No, he's moving into. See what I mean? We're a few seconds off of where the universe wants us today. Because that's the game. Being behind an elephant trying to get through this vegetation is not the greatest thing. Or is that more up ahead? Family maybe. Morning, Sharon. Hi Sharon, nice to hear from you. Sharon's asking if I've ever followed a honey guide to a beehive. No, but I have had on many of my walks, and especially up in East Africa, it's hard to avoid them. I've had honey guides become very insistent that we follow them, and most of the time, to avoid trouble with bees, it's important to try and walk the other way. And often when I'm walking in the bush and I'm doing like a morning's walk, 4, 5, sometimes 6 hour walk, we're very, very far from camp, or sometimes even when I've been on overnight walking safaris where we are really, really way out. I don't know where any of these Ellies are. They all moved off into the bush. They're heading north up towards Zoya's Road. But when I have been on walks and I've had honey guides. Now the honey guide is a wonderful bird that really loves eating bee larvae. There's also a flower here on the road. There's the devil's claw flower that was flowering. I guess I've lost it now. So what I do is I try and go at an angle to where the honey guide wants to take me, because you never know when people are allergic. Some people know they're allergic. I've been out on walks where people carry their own EpiPens even because they're so allergic to bee stings. But it's just not a very good idea to follow a honey guide with guests and not knowing how people will behave. You know, it's one thing to walk into elephants and be walking with big game, but walking into a beehive, and particularly maybe an aggressive East African beehive. Sometimes not a very good thing. And so I've tried to avoid it. I know that the Maasai do, there are a lot of the Hadza up in Tanzania, they do. There are honey collectors that follow the honey guides. But personally, no. Quite funny because sometimes we will be walking for hours and throughout the entire walk you get this incessant honey guide hovering or flitting from tree to tree in front of you, and the longer you ignore its direction, the more, as I say, the more insistent or persistent it gets. Both persistent and insistent. Almost to the point of it's shouting out loud, "Don't you understand me? Don't you want any honey?" And also to remind you that we are going to be doing a fireside chat after our drive this evening. Start with myself, so that you know. We're going to be signing off shortly. But I hope you're going to enjoy the rest of your Saturday or the rest of your Sunday. I hope you're all having a fantastic weekend this weekend, wherever you are on the planet. And that you'll join us for our afternoon, this afternoon, starting at 4 o'clock Central African time. My name is Mark. Vim has been on camera. Brian and the thumb in final control. And from all of us here at Wild Earth, goodbye everybody. We'll see you later.